If you have been feeling behind, you may be measuring your life with the wrong ruler. Welcome back to the Broken to Brave podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about something that has been coming up, not just with my clients, but if I'm being honest, in my own life too. And as 2025 comes to a close, I know that you may naturally be reflecting on the year. And if you're someone who is always looking to better herself, always growing, setting new goals, or expanding your life in courageous ways and brave ways, there may be a hidden trap that you have fallen into. Let me know if these sound like you. Why am I not further along? I should have made more progress by now. I'm doing the thing. I hit my goal, but it still doesn't feel good enough. If any of that hits home, then this episode is going to be useful for you. The problem isn't your ambition or your desire for change or your desire to improve your life. It's how you're measuring progress. So here's the pattern. You set a goal. You start working toward it. Maybe you hit it, maybe you don't. But before you even fully celebrate, your brain is already raising the bar. You've moved the goalpost, so to speak, and you barely even allow yourself to feel the win, or you don't allow yourself to feel it at all. Now, goal setting is not the problem. Goals give us direction, clarity, momentum. In fact, I actually did my doctoral dissertation on goal commitment, so I am a huge fan of goals. But when your goalpost keeps moving and keeps shifting without letting your system acknowledge what you've already accomplished, your nervous system never gets the chance to breathe, to take that exhale, so to speak, and it gets stuck in this loop. Not there yet. Keep pushing, stay alert over and over and over again. And that chronic push, if you're resonating with this, has probably kept you striving, but it has also, to some extent, stole your sense of safety. It may be disconnecting you from the present moment and reinforcing the belief that you're behind, even when you're not. And even in those moments when the universe is gifting you a beautiful lesson. You know those moments when you can look back at a situation and realize, I'm so glad the thing that I wanted to happen didn't happen. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Or if it weren't for that experience, I wouldn't have become this woman. Okay? And so when you are reinforcing that belief, I'm behind, you're missing the moments that the universe is gifting to you, just like the ones I described. Now, there's this concept that I return to for myself over and over again from the book, The Gap in the Gain. And it says that there's two ways to measure progress. The gap is when you measure yourself against an ideal version of you, something that is always out of reach. And again, there's no problem with creating an ideal version. In fact, I encourage women in Brave Academy to create that ideal version of themselves. But when you're always measuring yourself compared to that, there's a number of negative implications, and we'll talk about that more. Another way to measure your progress is to measure backward. So from where you started or a designated starting point. When you live in the gap, so you're measuring your progress against an ideal that's unreachable, you'll feel like you're constantly falling short. It's likely to bring up emotions of feeling like a failure, frustration, disappointment, low self-esteem, guilt, and even depression. Even if your wins feel small, even if your growth feels insufficient, that can be the result. So when you live in the gain, something shifts. You pause. You acknowledge, you let your body register success, and it's likely to bring up emotions of feeling successful and satisfied and confident. and bring up high self-esteem and enjoyment and optimism, even when you have not hit your goal. I want to make sure that that's clear. It's likely to bring up all of those positive emotions, even when you haven't hit your goal, when you are measuring the current you versus compared to a previous version of you that was just starting on the journey. And so I know that some of you right now are struggling with anxiety or maybe even panic attacks. And there might be this tiny voice in your head that's like, well, 2 years ago and all before that, I wasn't struggling with this. So I feel like a failure when I'm measuring backwards. Well, don't measure that version of you. I'm talking about the one who just started the healing journey, right? So a designated quote unquote starting point. So for instance, if something tragic happened to you 5 months ago and 2 months ago you started your healing journey, we are going to measure the today version of you compared to 2 months ago, the one who started the healing journey. And then you can begin to see all of the learnings and the tiny ways that you have shifted and how you're looking at things differently. Is this making sense? Okay. That builds internal safety and it teaches your nervous system it is okay to feel peace while you grow, not just after you arrive, because honestly, there is no actual arrival. And you get to choose if you measure your progress based on the gap against that ideal or the gain from that designated starting point. You choose. Sometimes, if you're human, and I think all of you are human, you're going to fall off the bandwagon. So you're maybe now that you've heard this, you're, oh, wow, this is really great. I'm going to apply this. And you'll start measuring progress based on the gains. And then there's going to be a moment that you're human and you start measuring in the gap. Once you realize it, without judging yourself, shift your focus and choose differently. That's it. So not long ago, I caught myself in this exact trap that I help my clients navigate. I'm human too, and that's okay. Now, I had restructured the business and I was pouring myself into expanding Brave Academy so that I can help more women, because my goal is to help as many people as possible deeply heal. And I had more clients than ever before. And I had clients who were struggling with all types of anxiety and panic attacks, everything from generalized anxiety to health anxiety to travel anxiety. And they were feeling better than they had in years, and in some cases in decades. But when someone asked me, how was it going? How's it going, Steph? My brain filtered for what wasn't working. The one number I hadn't hit. The ad platform that was getting error after error after error. The one metric that hadn't matched my now updated ideal, or the percent of expenses in my business. And in a split second, I went from feeling fulfilled to not good enough, and to feeling like I never, ever reach that ideal. And then I had to remember that's the point. We set the ideal to move us toward a goal. It's not reachable. And I had fallen into the trap of measuring the gap. And that's what the gap does. It steals joy from the moment. And it tricks your nervous system into thinking that growth isn't working, even when it is. Even when it is. Now, a couple weeks ago, I went to dinner with a friend and she asked about the business, and I stayed in the gain, and I was able to list one thing after another that I'd learned, that I'd grown through, and that I was grateful for, even though there was a lot that did not go according to plan in 2025. I almost said 2005. Wow. I went way back. Now, 2025 was night and day different than I anticipated, and night and day different than I expected. Yet, so much good came from it. And it truly developed me into more of a woman that I want to be, and showed me what I'm capable of. Now, we always have a choice. When life goes different than we want, we have a choice. Are we going to fight it? Are we going to resist it? Are we going to wish it away? Or are you going to look for what it's here to teach you? What have you been focused on? Every time you move the goalpost without letting yourself feel the win, your nervous system gets a very clear signal. We're not safe yet. Don't rest. Don't relax. Stay on guard. And that is an area where anxiety creeps in, where emotion dysregulation takes hold, and where the shame spiral can start. Because your system notices effort, but without permission to feel the progress, it keeps operating from survival rather than from feeling safe. And that's why inside of Brave Academy, I don't just talk about mindset. I don't talk about surface level affirmation work. I guide women on how to hold the gain in their bodies so that your body registers it and your system trusts it, and you get all those positive benefits. I actually want to tell you about a client who's coming to mind right now. I didn't ask her if I could share this, so I'm going to change her name. I'll call her Rachel. And she came into Brave Academy early summertime and feeling deeply stuck in generalized anxiety and perfectionism. She was high functioning despite a tragic upbringing, or traumatic upbringing, I could say. And she didn't see her wins. She only saw what she still needed to fix. At first, she brushed off any progress, but after a few weeks of doing the work of recalibrating her nervous system, of slowing down to feel the shift, and of building self-trust, everything started to change for her. She started documenting her wins, and the last time I spoke with her, a couple weeks ago, she said she had 30 pages of wins documented. Not 30 bullets, 30 pages of evidence that she's healing emotionally, physically, relationally. And it's not just awareness, it's her embodying the tools. And that's what living in the gain makes possible. So let me ask you something. What if your frustration isn't because you're not making progress, but because you've never been shown how to feel the progress that you've made, or you've never allowed yourself to feel it? And what if you're not behind? You are literally just measuring against an illusion and continually moving that goalpost. And what if the real you is doing better than you think? Maybe your boundaries are firmer than they used to be. Maybe your spirals are shorter. Maybe you're naming your needs without apologizing, and maybe you're recovering faster than you used to. That's the gain, and that's nervous system proof that something is working for you. So this week, instead of asking yourself, why am I not further along? Try asking yourself a different question. Maybe, where have I already made progress? How am I different than I was 2 months ago, or 3 months ago, or 6 months ago? And am I willing to let my body feel that win, even if it's small? It's not just a mindset shift, it's healing and a new way of relating to yourself and relating to your emotions. Now, this is exactly what we practice inside of Brave Academy, because healing isn't just about regulation. It's about receiving your growth and giving yourself credit for that. And you're not learning how to fix yourself. I've talked about this before. You're learning how to trust yourself again, because you came out of the womb trusting yourself. Just sometime between then and now, it's withered away because you're human. And it's about feeling proud without pressuring yourself, and feeling calm without quitting. So if you've been feeling discouraged or stuck and not feeling good enough, pause for a moment. Choose to start measuring backward and let your system catch up to your success. And if you want support, if you are ready to get out of the gap and into grounded momentum, Brave Academy is where we do that together. And you can learn more by sending me a message on Instagram or on Facebook with the word Academy. I will see you next Tuesday.